This is KHQA Overtime with Chris Dewar. Brought to you by Con Communications. This is KHQA. It's your news now.
And this is Saturday, April the 4th, and you have entered overtime. And happy Easter Eve to one and all. And like most holidays, this is a day of sports obligation for your friendly neighborhood sports director. We've got plenty on our docket tonight, including a couple of big series to wrap up in local baseball and softball, a visit to Quincy from The Ohio State University tonight, and of course the not small matter of polishing off High School Basketball Awards Week with the official reveal of our Boys Player of the Year. But we start tonight with Quincy native Luke Guthrie moving in the wrong direction in Houston on moving day, at least slightly. Not a disaster, but Luke didn't make the big move to the top today. In fact, 1/73 on the day for Luke as he finally seemed mortal when it came to greens in regulation today. Had that run going of more than 30 greens in regulation up until today, and just the wheels came off just a touch. But at this point, Luke did manage to kind of hold it together, and he's still within 5 strokes of striking distance in the lead, which has been taken over by the young phenom Jordan Spieth today. Couple of guys in the mix. Most of the big names have fallen a little bit back, so should be a real interesting wrap-up and final round to the Shell Houston Open coming up tomorrow, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for a big payday, maybe even a huge move for Luke coming up tomorrow. Let's do a little high school baseball today. Jacksonville visiting Quincy Notre Dame. Johnny Ray on the hill and in full command of his stuff from the jump today. Nasty day for the pitchers from Q&E. More on them in a second. How about some defense behind Johnny Ray as well? Blake Ulrich working well behind the plate. Guns one on down there to Joey Pollock. Gets the runner out. You know what? There weren't many base runners today for Jacksonville either. Pick it up a little later in the ball game. Tanner Marshall going to set the table right here with a single, and then it's Joey Pollock with a Jedi mind trick single that gets kind of through a bunch of wickets right there, and all of a sudden it's 1-0 and eventually 2-0 in favor of Q&E. Clay Wood would avoid any further damage. Outstanding football player, not a bad shortstop from deep in the hole. The great throw home. And guns down the attempted third run of the frame for Quincy Notre Dame. But still the Raiders leading. Jacksonville trying to stop Joey Pollock to no avail today. Pollock going straight up the middle for 2 more ribbies in this one. It's 5-0 before you could blink. The big story in this game, as I mentioned, the pitching. Johnny Ray and Malachi Lenz combined today for a no-no and 14 strikeouts between them as Quincy Notre Dame wins game 1 of the Twin Bill today by the final count of 8-0. And in the second game, Quincy Notre Dame's offense erupts yet again as the Raiders take out Jacksonville and pull off the sweep. 13-3 was your final there. Day of mixed results on the road for the Blue Devils. They lose to Galesburg. 10-8 was your final. Matt Tosick did have 4 hits in that loss for Quincy High School. On the plus side, though, nice bounce-back win over Dunlap today. 4-3 was your final there as the Blue Devil bats put together timely hits and forced home just enough runs. Got some great pitching today as well. How about the West Hancock offense exploding today at the expense of Payson Seymour? Started off in game number 1 with Luke Beeler. Perfect at the plate today and a couple of ribbies to frame up a 10-run victory. In the second game, all about the Cole Fox today, not just for hitting big basketball shots anymore. Cole Fox with a grand slam and 6 ribbies. Have a day, Cole Fox, as West Hancock completes the sweep. We had a split today down in Beardstown. Rushville Industry and Beardstown go at it. Game number 1, Danger Robertson with 2 RBIs to lead the Tigers to a victory. Game 2, though, Rushville Industry bounces back, gets a nice combined pitching performance today, and shuts out Beardstown in that second game. 8-0 was your final. The interesting side note on this, all of Rushville Industries' runs were unearned in that ball game. That's kind of a rare feat when you get 8 of them, obviously. Also, Illini West went on the road today, took its undefeated record and kind of played a triangular over in Athens. The Chargers knock off a really good Triopia team today behind the hitting efforts of Colton Mellinger. 4-1 was your final there. And then the first loss of the season for Illini West as they end up suffering it at the hands of Athens. 4-2 was your final. The other game in this one saw Triopia knock off Athens. 3-2 was your final there. Also in baseball today, tough day for Bushnell West Prairie. The Sparklones beaten up upon by South Fulton. Tyson McGinnis, really good hitter today. That we will assume is not his grandfather's bloodlines, but somebody else in the family who's much more athletic. Obviously, a 23-1 victory, and that one was big. And also on the day, South Fulton gets 2 home runs, including a grand slam in the combined doubleheader from Alex Dorothy to push on to victory. We've got some softball scores to pass along today. The always exciting Porta Slam over in Springfield. A day of mixed results for the Liberty Lady Eagles. First game they lose to Tri-City. They bounce back, though, get a nice win over Lanphier. Cadence Thomas Cadence Thomas, I should say, playing the hero in that game with 3 ribbies, and then a loss to Havana to make it a 1-2 day. Michaela Higdon 3 for 3 in that loss there. Grigsville Perry also at the Port of Slam today. A win for Hannah DeWitt and company in game number 1 as Miss DeWitt does it at the plate and on the hill today. Also game number 2, Williamsville a little too strong, and Hardham also too strong for Grigsville Perry despite Jordan Bright's hitting effort. She had a home run in that ball game, and as I mentioned, a 1-2 day on the day for Grigsville Perry as they ended up losing that 3rd game as well. Moving on to the scoreboard today, it was Beardstown taking a pair at home from Jacksonville, 19-9 in the first game as Madison Fox goes big time today, 5 for 5 at the plate, a home run and 4 ribbies to power the Lady Tigers. Second game, another big hitting effort. Miss Rollins today, 5 for 5 at the plate with 4 ribbies as well. And Illini West doing its work on the road today and doing it rather effectively, taking out Athens 12-2. Again, round robin type action, and taking out Triopia 18-0 were the finals there. Well, on the college docket this weekend got off to a most inauspicious start for the Quincy University baseball squad, who had been streaking coming in, but who saw much of their early season standings momentum stymied after being swept at home by William Jewell on Friday. Today was supposed to be a day of atonement, but the Bats continued to fall silent today after losing the first game 6-2. The Hawks scrambling to try to do anything offensively in game number 2, down 1-0 here, although bottom of the 5th, here comes David Jacob with a double to open the frame. That was good. Looked for a while like he was going to be stranded, but Jacob made his own good fortune, taking advantage of the wild pitch right here to come home and score. Unfortunately for Josh Raby's crew, what was the only run of this ball game. And again, the Hawks fall silent as they get swept in all 4 games. Wow, to William Jewell. 4-1 is your final. That really hurts considering those games were at home. John Wood and Lincoln Land going at it today. Greg Wathen fresh off his 500th career victory. Also in attendance today, former KHQA Player of the Year, Nick Lonergan of Jacksonville Route had a pretty good day as well. LLCC up 2-0 early in this game. The Loggers give one back, though, in the bottom of the first. The wild pitch to Jalen Poindexter gets that done. Lincoln Land just kept attacking. However, Colby Griggs puts one in play. The sac fly extends his team to a 4-2 lead. Carter Pranger, who swung a hot bat today, got a little assistance from some, well, awful bounces out there in the outfield. That turns into a 3-run, 3-base error, and that was really the difference in game number 1 as John Wood loses that one by the final count of 11-7. Things didn't get much better for the Blazers. They got down big early, nearly rallied all the way back, but ended up falling at home and getting swept today. 15-14 was your final as well. Western Illinois, congratulations to Tyler Owings. Their big-time closer becomes the school's all-time career saves leader with his 4th save of the season today on the road at Omaha. Truman State, big-time split today with Rockhurst. The story in this one, Hannibal's own Paul Trenhale, he needed 1 hit to take over sole possession of his school's all-time career hits record. The Pride of Hannibal did exactly that. We're really proud of him. He did it in game number 1 by virtue of a home run, so no better way to do it for Paul. Had his big hitting streak snap yesterday, but he's really had a fine season, and I know that America's hometown is incredibly proud of what he's been able to accomplish over in Kirksville over the course of his career. Check in on Culver Stockton today, losing a pair to Baker, 4-0 and 4-3. Hard luck in extra innings. Bigger day, however, for HLG at home as the Trojans take out Park. Big hitting days from Matt Jones in game number 1 and from Drew Moorcraft in game number 2. Maybe we'd have better news for the Quincy University softball team. Not even close. After losing game 3 earlier today, 5-2, Lady Hawks 1 strike from upsetting UMSL when disaster hit. That was Katie Rutledge, the number 9 hitter, hit one out of the ballpark to tie it. Alana Viken, who you saw right there, nearly in the bottom of the 7th, hit one to the deepest recesses of the park, but couldn't get anything done. Murphy Armstrong, you got to feel bad for her. She pitched fairly well today. However, she was opposed for the last 6 1/3 of this game by Hannah Berryman, the best pitcher in the GLVC. She came in relief. She threw 6 1/3 no-hit innings in relief, and that was really the dooming of Quincy University, who also had a tough weekend in softball as they get swept in all 4 games. Not of a series, but of all 4 games over the course of the weekend to UMSL and to Maryville, so tough weekend for them. How about some good news on the diamond today? John Wood taking on Parkland. Down 6-5, Sammy Overton, though, shutting down a potential threat. The Cobras still threatening here in the top of the 6th when Haley Hamill, the pride of West Hancock, diving stop at second to end that frame on an up note. Bottom of the sixth, how about Hannah Reller? Little pop fly that apparently mystified the Parkland Cobra defense. Fell in, the pop fly that didn't get caught. That sets up Haley Hamill. Couldn't have bunted this much better. Had an anchor to it. Dropped right where it needed to. Runners aboard in scoring position for the pride of Payson Seymour. Miss Kristen Luce, 2-run single, puts her team back up. Now here's the drama. We take you to the top of the seventh. Parkland loads the bases. Sammy Overton induces the 1, 2, 3 double play. She's all fired up, and as well she should be. John Wood gets the win today. Final count in this one was 7-6. I told you we had some good news. Let's share a little bit of more good news for you. Truman State sweeping past Maryville today behind a pair of local pitchers. Kelsey Dorsey out of Clopton with an absolute gem today. Gave up one hit today. Unfortunately for her, it was a 2-run homer, but still 11 strikeouts as Truman State wins game number 1 against Maryville 5-2. Game number 2, Kendra Hens out of Palmyra doing her thing, getting the victory today as well, as I believe it was a 9-1 victory today, and Alexis Van Nostrand, I believe, had 2 hits in that second game as well to lead her team. Also today, Avila comes in to Culver Stockton and pulls off the sweep today. 4-1 your final there, and 11-2 in that second game. And we are just getting warmed up here on the Big Overtime Show. I told you we're ending Basketball Awards Week tonight. Up next, we make the case for Southeast Iowa's finest, Miles Wenseen, as your 2015 KHQA Boys Basketball Player of the Year.
The family who lives in this house